Imagine this. You're walking down the street on a bright, peaceful afternoon. Nothing unusual, just you, the breeze, and a moment of calm in your otherwise busy life. And then, it happens. A strange sensation washes over you. You freeze, just for a second. You've been here before, haven't you? You know this place, this exact moment. The sound of the passing cars, the shadows cast by the trees, even the way you're holding your phone, it all feels uncannily familiar. But there's a catch. You can't recall when or why. It's like standing between two mirrors, caught in an echo of memory and illusion. Confusion creeps in. There's wonder, but also a shiver of unease. What is this feeling? Why does it haunt us in such fleeting, vivid flashes? If you've ever experienced it, you're not alone. Déjà vu. A French phrase meaning already seen, but behind those simple words lies one of the brain's most elusive mysteries, an enigma that has confounded scientists, philosophers, and neurologists for centuries. Is déjà vu a glitch in the mind, or a glimpse into something deeper, something not yet understood? Together, let's follow the trail of this phenomenon in our latest journey through the cosmic unknown, déjà vu, brain illusion, or future memory. Far from being rare, déjà vu is astonishingly common. In fact, surveys suggest that nearly 2/3 of all people have experienced it at least once, you and I included. The term déjà vu was first coined in 1876 by Émile Boirac, a French philosopher and parapsychologist. He described it as a momentary sense of familiarity in situations that rationally should be entirely new. It's a fleeting moment where the mind insists, this has happened before, even when every logical thread says otherwise. And it doesn't just occur during waking life, it can strike during dreams too. Children and adults alike can experience it, yet the moment passes so quickly that many don't even register it fully, just a whisper of memory, barely caught. But make no mistake, the idea has existed far earlier than 1876. St. Augustine spoke of false memories as early as the year 400, and some believe even ancient speeches, like one by Pythagoras over 300 years earlier, hinted at this eerie familiarity. From medieval manuscripts to modern literature, déjà vu has echoed through the centuries. Yet formal scientific study of it only began in earnest in the late 1800s. So, is it the same for everyone? Not quite. Psychologists divide déjà vu into two main categories. The first is the typical déjà vu, those odd but harmless moments we all recognize. The second is more clinical, often linked to neurological conditions like epilepsy. In such cases, the feeling of déjà vu occurs more frequently and can be accompanied by other symptoms, hallucinations, confusion, even dissociation. But for most of us, it's benign. Still, the experience can vary based on lifestyle. Frequent travelers, avid movie watchers, and imaginative thinkers tend to report it more. And interestingly, the older we get, the less often it occurs. Déjà vu is not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. Depending on how it presents, it can be classified into several subtypes. The most common is déjà vécu, the feeling that you've lived through this moment before. You don't just recognize the situation, you remember the smells, the emotions, even the thoughts you had. Picture watching a comedy movie. You burst out laughing at a punchline, and then it hits you. You know the scene. You know what's coming next, even though you've never seen the film before. Then there's déjà senti, a more internal sensation. You feel that something is familiar, but you can't recall why or how. It's like hearing a brand new song, yet somehow knowing every beat, every lyric, even though it was released just yesterday. And finally, déjà visité, the eerie sense of knowing your way around a place you've never been. You walk into a museum in a foreign city and instinctively turn corners like you've done it 100 times. You remember the layout, the paintings, the placement of statues, impossible memories of an impossible past. Déjà vu. So many have felt it, yet so few truly understand it. It happens to anyone, anywhere. A fleeting sensation with no warning, no pattern, and no clear cause. That universality is precisely what makes it so maddening. Why can something so common remain so deeply mysterious? Even with its widespread presence, we still lack a definitive answer. The moment comes uninvited and vanishes before we can grasp it. Some don't even realize it happened until it's gone, leaving behind only questions. One of the most widely accepted explanations? A misfire in the memory system. To understand it, we turn to the work of cognitive scientist Alan Brown, who introduced the concept of dual perception theory. He proposed that déjà vu often occurs when we encounter something twice, first in a fleeting distracted moment, and then again with full attention. In that first glance, the brain starts forming a memory. But it's incomplete. The exposure is too brief, the data too thin. Then, during the second encounter, our brain subconsciously recalls the first, but without us realizing it. This mental echo creates the uncanny illusion that the present has already happened. To prove this, Brown and his team designed an experiment. They flashed images to students for mere milliseconds, so fast the conscious mind couldn't register them. Later, when shown the same images again, many students reported a strange sense of familiarity. It took just 10 to 20 milliseconds for their brains to store these ghost memories. This theory suggests that déjà vu is nothing more than a recognition glitch, your brain replaying a moment you didn't consciously record. Say you're watching a movie and suddenly you feel like you've seen it before. Maybe it's not the movie itself, but the actor, one you subconsciously remember from another film. But this still doesn't explain the déjà vu that happens in completely new places. Those moments when you arrive in a foreign city and feel like you've been there before. How could that be possible? Could déjà vu be more than just memory's sleight of hand? Another school of thought points to a brief malfunction in the brain's information processing system. Imagine this. The part of your brain responsible for recording the present and the part responsible for recalling memories suddenly activate at the same time. The result? A false overlap. Your brain confuses the now with the then. Under normal circumstances, information travels from short-term memory into long-term memory in a neat, orderly fashion. But sometimes, the process skips a step. A short-term perception gets mistakenly encoded as a long-term memory, instantly. And so, what just happened feels like something from long ago. It's as if memory jumped the queue and, in doing so, tricked your consciousness. While memory glitches and neural misfires offer compelling theories, they may not tell the full story. Is déjà vu simply a mental hiccup, or could it hint at something deeper? A hidden mechanism, a psychic sense, a glimpse into parallel timelines? The brain is, after all, the most complex object in the known universe. Perhaps, nestled in its folds, is a secret still waiting to be uncovered. Some experts believe that déjà vu is deeply tied to the way our brains process and retrieve memories. It might be the result of encountering something similar to a past experience, an echo from another chapter of life you no longer consciously recall. Though the details are gone, your brain still remembers. A familiar face in a crowd, a scent on the breeze, the way sunlight filters through a curtain. Tiny fragments can stir a strange sense of already seen. But that's the puzzle. Despite its familiarity, déjà vu refuses to yield a clear origin. Scientists have tried, theories abound, but so far none have fully unraveled the phenomenon. To many, it feels like a trick of the mind, a fleeting glitch, a joke played by our own brain. Let's zoom in from the abstract to the concrete. One theory sees déjà vu as a reconstruction triggered by spatial memory. Imagine standing in a new place, a museum, a cafe, a quiet alley. You've never been here before, but then something catches your eye. A lamp, a painting, a tree outside the window. Suddenly the entire space feels oddly familiar. According to the three-dimensional memory hypothesis, our brains store memories like holograms, entire scenes encoded in layers. And sometimes even a single detail, a shape, a color, a sound, can unlock the full picture. But the smaller the fragment, the blurrier the memory. That's why the sensation often feels vague, not unreal, but not fully real either. And if science cannot yet explain it, some turn to a more spiritual path. What if déjà vu isn't about memory at all? What if it's a whisper from a previous life? This belief, rooted in ancient traditions, suggests that we carry echoes of our past incarnations deep within our subconscious, and when we revisit a place, encounter a familiar face, or relive a moment we've never known, it's not imagination, it's memory. Stories abound of people who feel at peace in places they've never visited, a house that feels like home, a stranger who feels like kin. In hypnotic regression therapy, some claim to remember entire past lives, and in these memories, people we know today often appear, wearing different faces, playing different roles, but somehow still the same. Could déjà vu be proof of reincarnation? If so, it implies that the soul survives death, that what we experience as now is just one turn in a much greater wheel. In this view, the body and soul are separate. The body dies, but the soul moves on, reborn again and again in new vessels. The soul's journey across lifetimes is shaped by karma, by the choices we make, the lessons we learn, and the paths we take. Some religions embrace this idea, others reject it outright. But belief in reincarnation isn't always tied to faith. For many, it's an intuitive truth, a feeling that life doesn't begin or end at the cradle or the grave. And if that's true, then perhaps déjà vu is not a malfunction. Perhaps it is a message. Of course, not everyone is convinced. The scientific community remains divided. Most instances of déjà vu can be explained by memory errors, attention gaps, or neural misfires. But some cases, those rare and haunting few, defy easy classification. Like people who recall precise details of a city they've never visited, or speak a language they've never studied, or feel an unshakable bond with a stranger they've just met. These accounts challenge our understanding of memory, time, and consciousness, and they leave us wondering, if déjà vu is real, and it is, then what else might be? Not everyone embraces the idea of past lives. Some believe we each have only one life, one shot at existence, and when it's over, we simply move on to a final resting place, whether it be paradise, purgatory, or oblivion. For these thinkers, life is a singular flame, not a cycle. Yet history offers stories that challenge that belief, strange accounts of children recalling vivid memories, not from this life, but from another. Among those captivated by these tales was Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia. Until his passing in 2007, Dr. Stevenson dedicated his life to investigating reincarnation, specifically in children. Over 4 decades, he studied more than 2,500 cases of children who claimed to remember past lives. Of these, 1,200 were deemed objectively verifiable, meaning the details they described could be cross-checked and confirmed with the families of the supposed former identities. His research focused on cultures where belief in reincarnation is strong, especially in parts of Asia. From his vast data, Dr. Stevenson identified 7 recurring patterns that often appeared in these mysterious cases. Jennifer Behalfren began speaking about past lives as soon as they could talk. Jennifer recalled details about their previous deaths with striking clarity. They could name and describe their former families. Their personalities, preferences, and habits often carried over. They retained the same gender across lifetimes. Many even resembled their previous selves physically, especially facial features. These cases raise a fascinating possibility. Could déjà vu be more than a mental glitch? Could it be a byproduct of reincarnation? One of the most compelling cases Stevenson studied came from Lebanon. In her first life, a woman named Hanan Mansour lived an ordinary life. She married a man named Monir and had 2 daughters, Lila and Galer. After the birth of her son in 1962, Hanan's heart condition worsened. She flew to the U.S. for surgery, but tragically she passed away at just 36. She had wished to speak with her daughter one last time and divide her jewelry between her children. That message was never delivered. 10 days after her death, a baby girl named Suzanne Ganem was born. By the time she was just 16 months old, Suzanne was picking up the phone and repeating the words, "Hello, Lila?" the name of Hanan's daughter. Her family was baffled. They didn't know anyone named Lila. But as she grew, Suzanne began telling her parents, "Lila is my daughter. I'm not Suzanne. I'm Hanan." By the age of 2, Suzanne could name 13 members of Hanan's former family. Her parents were stunned. They decided to investigate and reached out to the Mansour family. At first, the Mansours were skeptical, but during their first meeting, Suzanne correctly identified numerous family members, by name, by behavior, by secrets no outsider could know. She even called Monir, Hanan's husband, on the phone multiple times a day, referring to him as her husband. When she visited, she would sit on his lap and lean against him affectionately. Eventually, Monir was convinced. There could be no other explanation. Suzanne was the rebirth of his late wife. Even more astonishing, as Suzanne grew older, her face began to resemble Hanan's more and more. This case is not just anecdotal, it's profoundly detailed, emotionally charged, and rigorously documented. If true, it lends serious weight to the idea that déjà vu might be more than mere brain chemistry. Perhaps it is the echo of a life once lived, flickers of recognition from a soul that's walked this earth before. The boundary between déjà vu and reincarnation suddenly seems thinner. Perhaps what feels like just a feeling is a memory fighting its way to the surface. And perhaps, in rare and extraordinary cases, those memories are not just vague sensations, but entire lives, waiting to be remembered. What if déjà vu isn't just something that happens to us, but something we can seek out? Sounds impossible? Not quite. There's a controversial method some believe holds the key: past life regression through hypnosis. By entering a deep trance-like state under the guidance of a trained therapist, individuals claim to unlock memories from lives they've lived before. These sessions aren't just about curiosity. They're often used to heal traumas, understand recurring life patterns, or even discover the deeper purpose behind one's current incarnation. Those who undergo these hypnotic regressions report vivid journeys, emotional, sensory, and strangely coherent. But not everyone is convinced. Skeptics argue that adults are more prone to false memories, often unknowingly shaped by life experiences, suggestions from therapists, or even media. These memories might feel real, but were they ever true? Still, many who've tried it speak of profound benefits: psychological clarity, emotional release, and behavioral change. Therapists in this field don't just help patients remember, they help them confront fears, unlearn harmful habits, and tap into inner strengths that feel as if they were carried over from another lifetime. In cases of deep phobias or unexplained anxieties, past life regression is said to bring real relief, regardless of whether the memories are factual or metaphorical. Despite the mystical allure, science hasn't turned its back on déjà vu. In fact, researchers are designing experiments to study it in controlled settings. One such effort, led by a cognitive psychology professor at Colorado State University, tested a theory nearly a century old, that spatial familiarity could trigger déjà vu. Imagine walking into a hospital for the first time, yet somehow it feels familiar. According to this theory, it's not the place itself, but the layout, the furniture, the colors, the hallway angles. Maybe they unconsciously mirror a completely different location you visited years ago: a school lobby, a conference hall, a childhood home. This idea comes from Gestalt psychology, a school of thought born in Germany and Austria in the early 20th century. Gestalt theory argues that we don't perceive the world as isolated parts. We perceive patterns, wholes, structures. Our brains instinctively organize sensory input into meaningful configurations. So, when we experience a new environment that happens to match the structure of a past one, even if the content is different, it triggers a strong but vague sense of recognition. Or, as the Gestalt maxim goes, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's not the individual elements, but the way they're arranged that creates familiarity. And that sense might be strong enough to spark a moment of déjà vu, even if you don't consciously remember the source. To test this theory, researchers used virtual reality to place participants in digitally constructed spaces. By subtly replicating layouts from previous scenes, they observed that déjà vu was more likely to occur when spatial similarities were present, even when participants had no memory of the original setting. This suggests that subconscious spatial memory could be one of the ingredients behind déjà vu, but not the only one. Scientists agree it's likely a multifactorial phenomenon influenced by memory, perception, emotion, and perhaps even deep neural architecture still beyond our grasp. Today's researchers steer clear of mystical explanations like past lives, extrasensory perception, or alien abductions. Modern science prefers data, replication, and observable mechanisms. Still, déjà vu remains elusive, resisting easy categorization. Whether we see it as a brain glitch or a spiritual message, one thing is certain: it's real, and it's strange. As our tools for studying the brain grow more advanced, perhaps one day we'll pinpoint the exact origin of this mysterious sensation. Until then, déjà vu remains one of the most tantalizing unsolved puzzles of the mind. What about you? Have you ever stepped into a moment that felt like it had already been lived? Share your story. Maybe, just maybe, we're all remembering something more.